Your Honor, my grandfather, Kenneth Morris, survived being shot in the summer of 2024, but the life he lived before that day is something he will never fully get back.
The two well, there's more family out in the gallery, but the two that are here as a spokesman, I've explained everything you just explained to them, and they very much want to proceed today and are fine with it.
Now, I've done the same thing with Mr. Lewis. I've explained to him exactly the concerns and the situation here. He has indicated that he is wanting to pursue this today as well.
Well, I want to make clear that my first reaction was that I would recuse myself from the case to avoid any appearance of impropriety or any kind of interest or bias that might be inferred from the fact that I've made everyone aware of that situation and the fact that I know Sheriff Binkley. But I don't know any of these parties, and if everybody is waiving any sort of conflict, then I am going to render this decision based on what I think the law and the facts are. And it's not going to be based on any relation to Sheriff Binkley or anybody else. It will be solely on what the facts and the evidence are and what I think should be appropriately done.
Understood.
So I'm making that statement so that anybody who is not satisfied with my ruling has been given the opportunity to have a different judge hear it, and everybody's waived that, so we're going forward.
Defense is fine with that, Judge?
State may call your first witness.
Carrie, Batty.
You'll step around here, please, ma'am. Raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
You solemnly swear affirm testimony you give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do.
I know I told you before, but seriously, that chair is finicky.
Chair is a menace and a potential liability to the state, to the county, but it seems to never get fixed. So
You probably have to talk right in that microphone too, because the acoustics here are pretty bad. You could just state and spell your name.
My name is Carrie Batty, Carrie Beaty.
And what is your relationship to the victim in the case?
He is my grandfather.
And to start off, you have a statement you wanted to read.
I do.
If you could just read that.
Your Honor, my grandfather, Kenneth Morris, survived being shot in the summer of 2024, but the life he lived before that day is something he will never fully get back. My name is Carrie Batty, and I'm speaking today on behalf of my grandfather and our family. That in the summer of 2024, Kenneth Morris was shot by a previous neighbor. What happened that day caused severe and permanent changes to his health, his independence, and his sense of safety. Before this incident, my grandfather was fully independent. He managed his own home, his finances, and his daily life without assistance. And since the shooting, he has sustained permanent nerve damage that significantly affected his mobility and balance, and he now requires the use of a cane to walk. Because of these injuries, he's experienced multiple falls, some of which have required additional hospital care, and his mobility is no longer stable, and activities that were once routine now carry a risk of injury. He's also experienced cognitive decline, including memory loss, and because of this, he now needs assistance managing his finances and other responsibilities that he once handled independently. The man who walked into that day independent and strong is not the same man who lives with the consequences of that moment. And a person should be able to grow older with dignity and independence. Because of this act of violence, that independence was taken from him. As a nurse, I personally cared for my grandfather's wounds for more than 4 months after the shooting, performing daily wound care and dressing changes while also helping coordinate his medical appointments and being here in his absence for the court dates. And through that care, I witnessed firsthand the physical and emotional impact this injury has had on him. Beyond the physical trauma, he also suffers from psychological effects, including nightmares and a lasting loss of his sense of safety. The place he once felt secure now carries memories of trauma. This crime did not only injure Kenneth Morris physically, it took away his independence, his stability, and the dignity he once had in his daily life. In your honor, we respectfully ask that the court consider the long-term medical, cognitive, and emotional consequences of this crime when determining a sentencing today. Older adults deserve protection, safety, and dignity in their own communities, and what happened to my grandfather shows how devastating it is when that protection is violated. And because of this act, my grandfather has lost three things that can never truly be returned, and that's his physical health, his cognitive independence, and the ability to live the life he once managed on his own. And we ask the court to impose a sentence that reflects the seriousness of the harm caused and help protect other families and vulnerable members of our community. No sentence can restore the health and independence Kenneth Morris lost that day, but accountability today recognizes the seriousness of what was taken from him. And as both a nurse and his granddaughter, I witnessed the wounds this violence caused, not only the ones that required bandages, but the ones that changed the course of his life.
I got a couple additional questions for you, Miss Batty. You said you were a nurse. Did you go to school for that?
I did. I'm currently licensed with the state of Tennessee as a licensed practical nurse with a secondary wound care certification.
And where did you get your education?
TCAT of Nashville.
How long have you been doing that for a living?
I have been a nurse almost 6 years. I obtained my license in October of 2020.
And you said you cared for your grandfather's wounds.
Correct.
Where was he exactly shot?
He was shot in the back of the left thigh, and it was a through and through wound that exited the front of his thigh above his knee.
And you said when you say you cared for it, was that a pretty simple process? Did it heal pretty easily, or was it a long, drawn out deal?
We started the day he came home from the hospital, which I believe was like July the 26th of 2024. And that finally healed at the end of September of that same year.
Now, September, would that have been of 24 or
24.
24. And you said there's been some lasting effects that you have noticed. Have you also helped care for those other effects?
Yes, sir.
Specific to his left leg, what is the current status of that?
The current status of that is he follows with an orthopedic specialist in Nashville. He has nerve damage in that leg.
I'm going to object to this without any sort of medical records or anything.
Well, then I would tend to her as an expert because she's a nurse that's been caring for her grandfather.
Your objection is as to the statements that she's making regarding his medical condition,
Yes.
and you're basing that upon the fact that it's hearsay.
As the courtroom reviews the events, it becomes clear that what started as a simple disagreement quickly escalated into violence. The prosecution explains how the situation spiraled out of control, turning a normal confrontation into a shooting that would leave lasting consequences for everyone involved.
At least as far as a nurse goes?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll put on your proof regarding if you want to have her qualified as an expert,
Sure.
we'll move forward.
So going back to your education,
Yes, sir.
where'd you go to high school?
Cheatham County Central.
And after that, did you immediately go to a nursing program or did you do something else in between?
No, I did something else in between. I worked as a medical assistant and then acquired my CNA.
Where were you a medical assistant at?
It was a pain clinic in Nashville that is no longer in business.
What were your duties there?
Checking in patients' vital signs, making follow-up appointments for patients.
But it was still in the medical field.
Correct.
So you're familiar with terminologies and diagnoses and things of that nature?
Yes, sir.
Now, after that, did you remain in the medical field or how long did you do that?
I did that, I believe, for just a couple of years, and then obtained my CNA, to be able to work, with the geriatric population, before I decided to go back to school to obtain my nursing license.
Okay, so what did you have to do to get a CNA?
It was just a course that I had taken, in Clarksville. It was a weekend program and they taught you the CNA, handbook. And then you took a written and a skills test, with a representative from the state of Tennessee.
And then after that, you went on to get your nursing license.
Correct.
What did you have to do to obtain that?
I attended a year program at TCAT Nashville. It was a year-long program, and then after that, I had to take a test that is given by the nursing board called the NCLEX.
And you passed all that and you're now a nurse.
Yes, sir.
And you said you'd been that, if my memory serves, for the past 6 years. And you keep making reference to it. Do you specifically work with elder
I do.
patients? And where do you work?
I work at National Healthcare Corporation of Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Have you always worked there for this whole 6 years?
Yes.
And what are your duties there?
I am currently the wound care nurse at that facility. Prior to that, I was a unit manager, charge nurse, and then prior to that, I was doing bedside nursing.
State would tender her as an expert as a nurse.
Mr. Wall?
I would tender her, I'll give her the wound care portion of it. She's gonna testify as to neuropathy, nerve damage, and orthopedic stuff, so that she's not wrong. Again, she's an expert, she can give her opinion.
She is an expert. I'm classifying her as an expert in the medical field, not as a physician, but rather as a nurse. She has served as a charge nurse, so she's well familiar with wound care and recovering of injuries. And I think as a result of that, she has personally cared for, this is unlike a situation where she may be just testifying about a review of records. Her testimony is, if I understand correctly, based on her own personal care of her grandfather's wounds. So I am overruling objection because any testimony that might be outside of that would be based on reliable hearsay. So I'm overruling your objection. Thank you.
Don't remember where we were, but I think I do. So I think we were talking about his leg and where it currently is situated.
Mhm.
Is there currently a problem with his foot, just to cut to the chase?
Yes,
And what is the issue that he's having with his foot? Is it his foot or his whole bottom of his
it's
leg?
his whole leg. Nerve damage, but he is also have upcoming appointments with a vascular surgeon, for concerns of some arterial damage to that leg as well.
And are they making a decision whether to cut it off or not? Is that what we're really bottom line talking about, or no?
I can't answer that question because I have not attended that appointment.
Fair.
With him.
And did you know your grandfather before this incident?
I did,
Did you know, and you know him now?
correct,
Was he able to walk and get around before?
without any assistive devices, yes.
And what is his current ability to ambulate, to use your medical words?
He now ambulates with assistive equipment, which is a walking cane. And if he's not using that in the house, he does what you would call furniture walking, where he just holds on to furniture to get around the house.
As his limited ability to walk around resulted in any other injuries? As far as like, has he fallen?
Yes, he's had multiple falls since this incident. He has had 2 specifically that have required ER visits, and 1 in which he received stitches to his lip.
And again, did you know your grandfather before
Yes,
and you know him now? Do you notice a cognitive difference before and after?
absolutely.
And describe what he was cognitively like before.
Cognitively before, he lived in his own home, managed his own finances, activities of daily living. He had independence with that. He now requires assistance with his activities of daily living, which would include dressing, bathing, and financially, his memory is just not what it once was. And so my aunt helps with his financial decisions.
Have just 1 second, Your Honor. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Vaughn, you have any questions? Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You may call your next witness.
We don't have any other witnesses, Your Honor, but I did not move the pre-sentence report as an exhibit. I have a copy, Your Honor.
I have a copy that was filed, I think, with the court on February the 17th of 2026. Any objection to the pre-sentence report, Mr. Vaughn? All right, pre-sentence report will be admitted and marked as Exhibit 1 to this hearing. So the state has no other witnesses. All right, state has rested their proof. Mr. Vaughn, you wish to put on proof?
I do judge in the way of an allocution statement by Mr. Lewis.
All right. Yes, he may come up here. And an allocution statement is not required for him to be placed on the road.
Correct. Yeah, but I need to probably get his name on the record.
Yeah, you can go ahead and put your hand down. An allocution, you can put your hand down now. Thank you. An allocution that your lawyer has asked you to make is an unsworn statement that a defendant in a criminal case has the right to make. It is not considered to be testimony, but rather just a statement that you would make. So that's the reason you're not being placed under oath. So you may have a seat and state your full name.
Watch it.
I have known Mr. Morris for
Well, state your
24
full
years
name.
when this happened.
State your full name.
State your name for the record.
Timothy Lewis. I've known Mr. Morris for 24 years before this event happened, and we never had any bad words. We never had any issues at all. I would love to see us go back to that being neighbor thing. But I know that that's more than likely not possible. From the very onset of this, my statements from the official police report has not changed one word. That my words have been consistent, they have been true. You know, Mr. Morris did come onto my property, and he did verbally assault the Cheatham County Sheriff's Department, my current brother-in-law, and then he started on me. And I asked him to leave very cordially. And his reply was, "Make me." And he got out of his vehicle. Now, at this point, I was shocked and surprised that that happened, but at that point, he wanted to get into a physical altercation. I didn't want to do that. I went out of my way not to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt us all. So I kept demanding that he leave my property. The more that I demanded that, the more agitated and the more belligerent he became. So as it went forward, a knife came out. And when the knife came out, I have low blood pressure. A really good cut makes me pass out. So to me, a knife is a deadly item. And I still kept trying to get him to leave my property. I didn't instigate any of this. I was sitting at my house trying to load up some garbage to take to the dump. That was all I was trying to do. At that point, he kept walking back and forth from the road, back and forth my driveway with his vehicle sitting in my driveway. Now, for 24 years beyond that, I would have never, ever expected something like that to ever happen. It was just totally just mind boggling to me. I was having trouble trying to wrap my head around it as to what was actually going on. the look on his face, the look on his eyes, the gritting of the teeth, the stress and all that, I could see that. And I could see that this was going to get really, really bad, really, really quick. I'm still in 100% defensive mode here. All I wanted was him to leave my property, and that was 100% it. Everything beyond that. As he started to get more agitated and the look on his face didn't change and the gritting of his teeth got even worse, I knew that this could get turned out really bad, really quick. I'm still in defensive mode. I'm still consistent on everything that I've said since the very day this has happened, and all my wording has not changed one bit. And there was only 2 people at that property at that time, only 2, me and Mr. Morris. There was nobody else there. And I can tell you that I will stand to my very dying day saying that what I've told you has been true. I would love to see things go back to the way they were. That type of life, having neighbors that you get along with and that you talk to and that you help and they help you, it's a whole different life. And, you know, I know that that's gone. And, you know, being in 100% defensive mode, that's the reason. All I was trying to do was run the guy off. That was all I was trying to do. I didn't have a knife. I didn't have anything else. So yes, I pulled out a handgun. I fired it in the air twice to let him know, listen, just please leave, just leave. And he would not do that. The last shot that I fired, I apologize. I have no idea. Was not aiming for him. I don't know how it happened. To this very day, it bothers me. It keeps me up at night. It bothers every day of my being. There has not been a day that has gone by where I have not just totally ran this thing through my head and totally trying to get to grips on it. And to this very day, I just can't explain it. I went out of my way not to get into a physical confrontation, not to hurt the guy, and I ended up doing it anyway. You know, the political aspects of this and the family history, all the things that's gone on with that family and the Cheatham County Sheriff's Department, I became part of that by default, not by design, not by my being, but by just sheer unadulterated default. And I ended up paying the price for it. I fully did
sorry,
not mean to
repeat that.
harm the man at all.
Would you repeat what you just said?
I'm sorry, sir.
What was the last thing you said? I didn't hear that part clearly.
That I really was trying not to hurt him. I went out of my way not to, and I ended up doing that anyways. You know, I really just, I'm still tore up about this. It's cost me my job. It's cost me future employment. It's cost me just about everything. And, you know, it's when you're in defensive mode and you don't think about those things. When you see that your life is in danger and there's a possibility that things could go really bad, you don't think about those things. And you also come into the realization after the fact that your actions can cause long-term consequences. And to this very day, it won't leave my head. It just stays there every day. You know, like I said, I went out of my way not to hurt him, and I ended up doing that anyway.
The judge now begins questioning the circumstances that led to the shooting. From the court's perspective, the situation should never have escalated this far. What might have been resolved with a simple conversation instead ended with gunfire and a case now being decided in court.
Are you done? Okay, you step down.
Vaughn, you have any other witnesses?
No, I do not.
State, have any rebuttal witnesses?